My name is Jordan, and I'm a Texas real estate broker. I've been in the apartment industry for the past 9 years, and I decided while launching my brand, I wanted to make a company that was all about its agents. Here's a quick video to explain exactly what apartment locating is. And when you decide to get licensed, I'd love to talk to you more. I wanted to do a group call today just to kind of inform you about apartment locating and all of the details about it. Just because normally I don't meet with people that aren't licensed yet, but I figured that if you're interested and you want to learn more, I could just do a group call and kind of inform everyone at one time, answer any questions that there might be, and yeah, kind of go from there. It's definitely interesting. I think a lot of people will get because as I mentioned, I've been running brokerages for like the past 8 years, and I've interviewed and trained and mentored a lot of like agents. And it's just interesting because I think a lot of people start off and they're like, oh, I love HGTV or I love $1 million listing. And they think that they're going to get their license and just sell houses and make a whole bunch of money. And like, that's just like what they're going to do. But I think once you get into real estate, you realize that there's so many different ways that you can make money. And I think a lot of people learn that it's like a lot harder than what they think it is. Yeah. And I think what's actually hard about it is just being self-motivated.
Mhm.
A lot of people lack that. So it's definitely like I was just talking to somebody about this today. Like I wouldn't even say that you have to be good at sales or interested in sales to be good at real estate. I think it's more so just being um able to like being self-driven and just if you wake up today, like what do you need to get accomplished? Like I think a lot of people just kind of lose touch when they can make their own schedule. They like don't know how to like get themselves going. So I think that's like probably one of the hardest things that I've noticed for new agents is they're like, well, what do I do today? I have no idea. I am somebody like if I had to have, like you said, like a set schedule all day, every day, it bogs me down. I feel like I'm not energized from it. I don't have creativity behind it, but some
Mhm.
people aren't like that. So it really just kind of depends on like your personality and like how you thrive. But I do think that with a real estate license, you can do so many different things with it. That I really don't think it's ever a lost cause to get a license because you can, if one thing doesn't work for you, like one area of real estate doesn't mean that like a different area won't work. So with that being said, I'll kind of dive in to kind of what I'm looking for, what I'm hiring for. So, what this new brand that I'm launching is strictly going to be apartment locating. Basically, there's an area of real estate in Texas specifically, and then there's some other like Denver does it, Atlanta does it, Chicago does it. There's a couple other states that do it the way that we do it here. But there's what's called apartment locators. So if you are a real estate agent and somebody asks you like, "Hey, I need to move into a high-rise building or a mid-rise building in East Austin, they're looking for an apartment. You are the person that can go search for apartments for them so they don't have to call and schedule appointments to tour properties or call and get pricing or call to find out if there's a kitchen island somewhere. I mean, you're really just like the person that's doing that for them. And then the apartment complex will actually pay you as a real estate agent a referral fee. So normally that referral fee is anywhere from like 1 month's rent. Sometimes it's up to 2 months rent. Sometimes it's less. It really kind of just depends. But on average in Texas, Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, most apartments, if you're like working with luxury apartment communities, most of
Mhm.
them pay equal to 1 month's rent. So that's basically how you make money is that you're basically the person that's looking for apartments. And I've talked to a lot of people that they're like, "Oh, on my free time I just look at apartments," or, "Oh, if my friends need apartments, I like apartments, so I help them find apartments." And I tell them, "You actually can get paid for doing that." It's a thing. So something that a lot of people like about apartment locating is that you don't actually have to be there to make the commission off of it, because you're really kind of like referring someone, it's word of mouth. The on-site person that works at the leasing office, they're the person that goes and tours the client and does like the lease contract and all of that. So apartment locating is really unique in the fact that you can make money all over the state of Texas. If you have a friend that's moving from Austin to Dallas, you can help people find apartments in Dallas or in Houston or in San Antonio because you don't actually have to be there. but it's like a service that you provide people that's really all done virtually. So you would be texting them, you would be emailing them properties. And then mostly every apartment community has all of their info online. So throughout the majority of the day, you're just following up with clients, figuring out what their needs are, and then going and searching for apartments that match that, sending those properties to them. And then really you're just following up with that client to be like, oh, how did your apartment tours go this weekend? Great. You leased somewhere. Where did you lease? And then that's really it. It's actually super, super simple. Really what apartment locating has kind of what's gotten big, or most important for agents is like social media. So most people get all their leads through like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. They will build out an account and they'll just like show really beautiful apartments, and they'll just say, hey, contact me for more information. And that's kind of where it seems like our industry has gone, is really kind of just being about social media. There are like, you can work for brokerages that, they give all their leads to the agent. So you're not having to go get the leads. Like the brokerage will give you the leads. So it kind of just depends. But there's lots of different ways to go about it. But all in all, that's really kind of what apartment locating looks like, is you're kind of just word of mouth marketing apartment communities. And for the most part, every single apartment community in Texas works with apartment locators, which is also a terminology for a real estate agent. They all work with us. They all may pay differently. And then there's also different systems that you can use. It's basically like a website that you pay for monthly or annually, and they have all of the information for each apartment community. So you'll be able to pull up like, what is a 1-bedroom off Riverside for less than $2,000, and it'll pull up like, this property matches that. That's another thing. A lot of people think that they have to be familiar with an area, or they have to be familiar with all of the properties in Texas. You actually don't need to know like anything about any of the properties. Obviously it's very useful, and you eventually learn that information. You're getting started, like you don't need to know anything. Yeah, it's super, super simple. With apartments, I will say whenever you do go to get paid, typically you don't get paid until your client moves in. And then you typically don't get paid like 30 to 60 days after they move in. I always tell people that are like getting into real estate, and it's pretty a common knowledge thing if you start doing research about getting a license, is that you really want to have like 6 months worth of savings, because you
Mhm.
probably won't be making money for 3 to 6 months.
Right.
That's not to say though that you can't make money soon. It's just be prepared that that's, what it is. So a lot of people will get into real estate or apartment locating, and they'll maybe do it kind of on the side until they start having some money coming in. And then they'll quit their full-time job and transition to be full-time into real estate.
Right.
I have had agents like, I have had people that like literally were like, no, I know that I'm going to be good at this. And they quit their jobs and then went to school, got their license 3 weeks later, and then just took off running. Yeah. One girl in particular, she made like $10,000 her first month, and I was blown away. But she was a hustler. And not everybody has that mentality. So I just like to tell people like, either keep your full-time job or just have a way to support yourself financially before you jump all the way in. But it's a really, really great full-time career. It's a great introduction into getting into real estate. It's a great side hustle. I really, as I mentioned, have just loved this side of it, because I like to be able, like, I like to travel a lot. So
Yeah.
I noticed when I was doing residential and working with investors, you have to be present. You have to be there to, be working with them. So I really loved apartment locating, because you can just be anywhere and still helping clients. And that was something that I really liked that fit in with my lifestyle. You do have to be licensed in the state of Texas to be an apartment locator. You're technically, once you get that license, you're a real estate agent, or you'll see apartment locator or real estate agent. It's used interchangeably. There's so many different real estate schools you can go to. I always recommend to people Champions, because they're like one of the biggest schools in Texas. And you can go to school online, or you can go to school in person. I've had people complete school online in just like a couple of weeks, like 1 or 2 weeks. If you
Wow.
Yeah, if you have the time to like dedicate to it, you can get it done soon. Like for me though, I was working full time and in college full time when I did real estate school, so it took me like a year to do it.
Oh,
But it's it's definitely doable if you want to get it done like very quickly. You can definitely do it. Champions, or there's a lot of other schools like Aceable Agent. I've
Right.
heard people say that they've found schools on Groupon. There's lots of different schools, but I always recommend Champions because Champions, I feel like basically everyone that signs up and goes to Champions, they end up passing their test. I would go into all of like the brokerage information and like the differences between this brokerage and that brokerage and all of that stuff. But I think it would kind of probably be too much information right now for you. I would rather you like get through school, and then just know, then we could dive into that, because what you'll find with apartment locating, being a real estate agent, being a realtor, you hang your license under a broker. So like I'm a broker, and so I'm hiring agents for this specific team, but
Right.
you'll find that with real estate it's very different than most any other career. You actually are kind of the person interviewing the broker, because
Mhm.
you want to see, okay, what do you offer as a company? This is what I need, this is what I don't need, because brokers offer all different types of stuff. That's why, if you do decide to kind of move forward and getting into real estate, you go get licensed. If you want, we can schedule another time to talk, and then we can go over all of the ins and outs of like what our team offers, because that'll be like the next step. You'll get licensed and then you'll want to find a brokerage. None of that stuff will really probably make sense until you actually get through school. So that's why I don't want to like bombard you with all of that stuff. But and then once you actually complete school, you apply to be able to take your test. Then you have to get your fingerprints done, which I think is like $50. It's really like school and then getting your everything certified with the state. But all of that information's online too. So if you want to like budget out exactly what that's going to look like, you can do that. If you compare it to like an average apartment, what does an average apartment cost in Austin? Like if it even cost you $1,000 to get your license, I mean, you'll make that back like your first transaction. So, and that's kind of the other thing too with apartment locating. What I found is that if you're doing residential and you're helping people buy houses or sell houses, you physically have to be there. So you may only be able to show like 3 clients in one weekend or whatever, because there's only so many hours in a day. But with
Right.
apartments, because you don't have to be there, you can help a lot of people at one time. So like even though the commission amount is smaller than if you were to sell a house, you can actually help a lot of people. If you take 30 times whatever an average 1 or 2 bedroom apartment is, I mean, that's a significant amount of money. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a really good place, a good side hustle, or a good place to kind of get started in the real estate industry. I've done a lot of different things with my real estate license over the past 8 years. So yeah, you can do so much. So that's why when people tell me they're gonna get their license, I'm like, it's never a bad thing, because you could literally do so much stuff with it. Yeah, I would look into Champion School of Real Estate. I have a lot of YouTube videos about kind of apartment locating, how it works. And I can send those to you too,
Oh,
if you
good.
just kind of want to like learn more about it. And
Yeah.
also another thing is too, is I'm in the process of developing a apartment locating course as well, because when you get your real estate license, they probably won't teach you much of anything about apartment locating. So I'm developing an apartment locating course as well, that if people are getting into the industry and say they don't come work with my team, they can still get that information from me as well, because I've just been in the industry for a long time. I worked on site previously. I worked as like a leasing agent on site, and I've done the actual brokerage side of it too. So I'll have
Yeah.
I'll have that coming up too. So I'll definitely keep you posted. That should be done in the next like couple of weeks.
Cool.
So yeah, so if you want more information about that as well. But it was really amazing to connect with you. Feel free to email me, or yeah, reach out if you have any other questions that come up. Yeah, I'd be happy to help.